I think it's starting to become a little bit clearer, isn't it, in League Two, where the automatic promotion scramble ends, automatic promotion race ends, and where the playoff scramble begins. And I think that Bromley, Notts County, Swindon, Cambridge, and MK Dons are in a race for the top three, and I think two of them are going to finish in the playoffs. And I think two of the following teams will join those two in the playoffs, and that is of this group of six teams, Chesterfield, who are on 56 points from 35 games. So too are Crewe Alexandra. They currently round off the top seven, but just below them with a game in hand are Salford and Grimsby Town, both on 55 points. Then we go down to 53 points with Barnet, who have played 35 games, same number as 6th and 7th, and Walsall, who also have a game in hand on those, rounding off the top seven. So Chesterfield, Crewe, Grimsby, Salford, Barnet, and Walsall, I think, are going to be in the conversation. We've only had the chance to speak to fans of four of those clubs this evening, but we should get a bit of a clearer picture of where those clubs are at and which of those can finish in the top seven. This is the League Two podcast. So if you like what we do here on EFL Debate, you can do us a massive favour by getting subscribed to us on YouTube and on Spotify. We also have a memberships option for those of you who would like to get access to my exclusive weekly conversations on broad-ranging Football League topics with Simon Lillibury. You can do just that by becoming a member of EFL Debate for £3 a month. Delighted to be joined by my first guest of the evening. That is Mr. Tom Boone from the Railwaymen podcast. Tom, thanks so much for joining us. How are you feeling about Crewe's top seven chances, given you've been one of the form sides in League Two in 2026?
Yeah, we've really taken to the new year in a way that I don't think many Crewe fans were expecting, off the back of disappointing defeats to Walsall on Boxing Day and then Newport before the new year. It didn't feel like this was the way our season was heading. It felt like we were heading towards a mid-table finish, but we've seemingly found an extra gear that I don't think we realised we had in us, and we're pushing on, aren't we? And yeah, it seems like now's the time to get optimistic about Crewe.
Yeah, certainly has. I think Maciej Holacek's form since the second half of the season has been much stronger. I know his agency, Seg Football, have done a lot for him, as well as the football club as well. And I think he's seeing a psychologist or something along those lines, and that seems to have made a big difference for him. So clearly these sorts of things can make a big impact for players, and we're seeing that with Maciej Holacek.
Yeah, I think Mattis has found a sort of new level in the new year, and I think he's still perhaps leaving a bit to be desired in terms of that end product. But I think he's come back a much more mature footballer from his injury and his sort of setbacks, and he looks sort of as if he's gained, like you say, it might be that psychological edge, it might just be that level of experience and sort of confidence in the way he carries himself. Because yeah, it has translated to the way he's conducting himself on the pitch. So yeah.
Yeah, because he's one who's been a name that stood out for quite a while. I would probably say go as far back as 2022, when he was sort of a name from the academy that Crewe Alexandra fans who maybe paid attention to that level of football were like, yeah, watch out for Maciej Holacek. And it's taken a few years for it to translate maybe to form and consistency, I think it's fair to say, but we know that he's got the talent. I think injuries maybe haven't helped him so far in his career, but he's played for Slovakia and under 21s level, so clearly the ability's there, and he's still only about 20, 21, so he's still got time on his side.
Yeah, it's one of them. It sort of felt like it was coming to a crossroads of which way is he going to go? Is he going to go and push on in development, or become another Callum Ainley, where it's like, well, you've been hyped as this real big asset for the club, but the numbers and the performances don't quite push you on for that big money move or the sort of making a mark at Crewe. But I think he is definitely, like you say, he's a name that's been around for so long, since he was quite young, to be fair, just because he's an exciting player. He's very technically gifted, and he's sort of a player that we know we could be able to sell for quite a bit of money if he pushed on. And hopefully this sort of end of the season run that he can have, hopefully he can really make himself a name in League Two as a top performer, and hopefully next season for Crewe as well.
I think this is possibly the most exciting season from the point of view of academy graduates and the next generation coming through that Crewe Alexandra have had for quite a few seasons, because you look at Lewis Billington, who you've spoken of very fondly this season, Tom. You look at Callum Aegis, and okay, he's had a couple of years where he's been in and around the first team squad, but this is the first year where you would say, yeah, he's finding some form. And Holicek, same to an extent, although he's been around for a bit longer. But it's starting to feel like that that next generation is starting to shine through a bit more.
Yeah, I'd agree completely with that. I think the key difference for me in last season and this season was, I mean, our squad was still young last season, so actually I'm not going to detract from the fact that we had a young squad last season because we did. But I think the key players in that side were the loanees. It was Max Conway, it was Philip Marshall, it was Jamie Knight-Labelle. They were the ones that were stealing the headlines, if you will, and to a degree, Conor O'Riordan when he returned as well, who obviously was our own academy graduate. But this year, like you say, I think Lewis Billington's been one of our top, most consistent performers. Agius is contributing numbers. Holicek is really driving the team onwards. Owen Lunt is proving himself as an established League Two player. And I think I look at this squad and I think, well, if we can tie down these lads to longer term contracts, then we have a real core to build around, which I think last season especially, I think Crewe fans were debating, did we still have that sort of young core coming from our own academy? Whereas this season, I think we definitely do, and we can build around these players and we can really shape a team around them. And when our young academy lads play well, I think the whole team plays well as well. So, yeah, I think this season it's so good to have, your own academy lads at Crewe. It's part of the culture. So when we're up at the right end of the table and those sort of players are playing really well, it's just great to see.
It certainly is. And I can't let you go without mentioning Tommy O'Reilly. He's got 2 assists last time out against Tranmere, and to sort of reassert himself as the top assister in League Two. I think he's got 10 for the season, which is a fantastic output considering that was before we went into March. So some season Tommy O'Reilly's having, and he's going to play a big part in the last 2 months of the season, isn't he?
Yeah, I think if we can keep Tommy O'Reilly fit and we can keep him firing, it bolsters our promotion hopes quite drastically, doesn't it? Because I think he is just that good. He's been playing through injuries and tiredness, but then he pops up with moments, at the death of Tranmere against Crawley away. So you're almost in that sort of two minds of, is he in need of a rest, but can we afford to rest him? He's a brilliant footballer, and I believe only the 6th player to reach double digits in assists for Crewe since 2000. So he is a real top performer. I think the last one for us would have been Charlie Kirk. So you're going back to that last really good League Two season for that.
I was trying to remember. Yeah, Danny Murphy would have been a bit before that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it's Kenny Lunt twice, Charlie Kirk, and then I can't remember the others off the top of my head. But
there you go.
He joins a very exclusive club, and I just think he's a tremendous talent. I'd love for him to stay with us next season, whether that's in League 1 or 2, but I don't think that's realistic. I think he'll really push on and potentially go straight to the Championship after us. He's had a brilliant breakthrough year, which I'm sure Villa fans will be delighted with as well.
Certainly will. I'm going to ask you about Lee Bell, Tom, because definitely felt for a while like the mood has fluctuated with Crewe fans quite a bit, because you had that streaky start to the season where you had a really good run and then did have a bad run in September or October and then another good run. And fans have kind of been a bit up and down. But for me, I'm not sure he quite gets the credit he deserves, especially during those tougher moments for what he's done since he took charge, because I think the results could have very easily been a lot worse than they actually have been.
Yeah, I'd agree completely. I'm quite a big Lee Bell advocate, and I think I've made that clear. I think the only point where I was sort of debating, not turning, but there were doubts, was after that Newport game. I just thought I think at that point just fallen out of the top 7 and really struggled away at a really poor Newport side on the night. And I just thought, I can't see him turning it round again. And to be honest, I really couldn't. So the way in which we've gone about doing this, and the way in which he's sort of found another way to escape, what felt like a bit of a turning point in the fan base into the new year. And it all started really at Bromley away with a very late Mickey Demetriou header to steal a point at the league leaders. It's remarkable. He seems to just pluck these runs of form from absolutely nowhere. And that discredits him completely. Obviously, a lot goes on behind the scenes and a lot of tactics go into these games. But I just mean when the fans seem to be doubting him, he thrives to the point where I'd rather us be playing teams at the top end of the league where we're the underdogs. And I think Lee Bell just thrives so much on that sort of underdog against the odds mentality. And
even as a player, he was a bit like that with Burton Albion almost. You think of his part in them achieving against the odds. It does seem to be a trend with Lee Bell where he's good at being part of clubs that somehow manage to do better than you would think. And I don't want to undermine Crewe Alexandra because they're a grand name in the history of English football, the Football League, and so I'm not underplaying that bit, but budget-wise, what Crewe are facing, I think is a pretty significant challenge. Obviously, you've got a really good academy, which helps, but there isn't a huge amount to play with. So, I think he's doing a top job.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, I think the budget, perhaps, like you say, it doesn't necessarily consider the academy and the investment and years that go into getting players that other teams in this league just don't get for the price we do. But then we do pay a price in the long-term running of the academy. So it sort of balances in that. But like you say, even when you factor in the academy, we don't have the sort of money that some other clubs in the top 7, not all by any stretch, but we're punching above our weight a little bit in that regard and really giving ourselves a good showing and a good go at trying to get playoffs. If not further, I can't see us. I think you smashed it at the start by saying it's going to be 3 or 5. The ambitious fan in me thinks, one team could just go on a run and win 9 or 10. It could be us. I'm not saying it will be. I won't go on the record of saying that, but I wouldn't rule out the chasing pack. I wouldn't rule out us or a Grimsby or a Chesterfield just going on a run and putting a bit of doubt into the teams that are leading that pack. But it's one of them.
It depends, just on that, Tom. I think it depends what the points bar for automatic promotion is. I think if the points bar is 80, I think there's teams in the chasing pack that can get there. Whereas I think if the points bar is 85, I think that puts it that bit harder, I would say.
Yeah, I'd agree. I look at our running. I look at Cambridge's running. I look at a few other teams running, and we all seem to play each other. So I just think there's going to be so many big games at the end of this season that actually, if Crewe were to, let's say, be in with a shout with 5 games left, then we have MK Dons and Cambridge to play in our last 5. And I just think so many teams' fixtures are like that I think there's still a fair chunk of football and a fair chunk of big games to play that I do think it's a bit more open than people are giving it credit for, this division, going into the sort of final 10 or so games. I actually think it could be an upset, and I wouldn't be shocked for someone like Bromley, who've almost felt like a dead on certain to go up for large parts. It wouldn't shock me if they fall short, or someone around that to fall short, and just sort of the pressure gets to them. But I suppose we'll see. And I suppose the ambitious part of me and the optimistic part is saying, why not us to go on a big run? I don't think that'll happen. I don't want to come on here and say that'll happen. I'd be very, very happy with where we are right now in 7th. But if we can get more wins as soon as possible, then you never know, do you?
Never know. Tom, thanks so much for joining us, and look forward to catching up later in the season. So my next guest is Danny Shepherd from the One Up Front Salford City blog. Danny, thanks so much for joining us. With regards to Salford City, it's 5 defeats in the last 6. Significant drop-off in form. Has that extended to performances?
My God, yes. Oh God, yeah. Yeah, it's I'm very despondent, Gab, really. Especially after the Grimsby game. It's not why I watch football. I don't watch football to think when's this going to be over, and I wasn't even there. You know what I mean? It's sad. It's sad, and the thing that saddens me the most is when it's not just losing. We've lost quite a few games, as you'll know, recently, so we're kind of used to that. It's when the lack of reaction between losses is a problem. because when you've got I don't think you think he's as much of a firebrand as I think he is, Carl Robinson, but I would hope that in between those, he'd be looking for reaction and you don't see it. And he's talking about getting a reaction and we're going to respond and we're going to define who we are as men, and it doesn't happen. And then we got a win. And then we kind of fell to pieces on Tuesday last night. And I just didn't like the fact that we didn't change anything between half time and the second half. I just think that's ridiculous. Something's got to give. I know people felt there was a lot of injuries that occurred that meant his substitutions were kind of all forced, as he, took pains to point out. But very, very, very poor mood in the fan base, not just in this last week or two. I know I've messaged you about this. It's just not great. And I know I can be hypercritical, but it feels like the end. It really does. Really does.
Last season when he dropped off, I saw it coming because I wasn't convinced by performance levels, and it did feel like a sort of let's play to get in the team for the Manchester City game, and after that we're going to drop off. This year I didn't think it was that. I genuinely thought this team were better than this. So I'm a bit stumped by it, to be honest, Danny.
For me, and I've said it a lot in my blog, I understand that we've got a pitch that is ripped to shreds and it gets the same way every season because we don't invest in it. We maybe haven't invested in it over the years. So it's by this time of the season, we cannot play anything recognisable as football at home. And I get that. But Carl's fear of trying to play out from the back or play anything other than risk averse, just kind of hooking it over your shoulder as far as you can, high in the air, so his back line can push up and we can try and squeeze teams. When that doesn't work, there's nothing else. MK Dons fans and Oxford fans told me when Carl was appointed that he won't have a plan B because...
But this is the opposite, Danny.
It's a different plan. Plan.
Sure.
It's still his plan A, though, with us. It's the only plan we've ever seen from him.
Yeah, of course.
And I would argue at times that he's kind of almost going into... The thing that gives me slight hope, I know I'm sounding a bit down, well, I am, is that he has seemingly changed at moments of the game from the flat 3-1-4-2 that he's just spammed to a bit of a 4-1-4-1. I even see a bit of the 4-3-3 if you look at it in a certain way with, it's interesting, but I just don't think he's got the levers to change this around. It feels very, very Neil Wood-like at the end that the players can't lift themselves for the person who's not helped inspire them to actually lift the levels, and everything's just flat.
But it's interesting, though, isn't it? Because under Neil Wood, I felt like... I would almost hope somebody else was doing the team talks with respect to Neil, because I'm sure he's a good technical coach. But I would struggle to be motivated listening to him. I don't think that's necessarily his bag. Lots of really good coaches who are like that, so it's not a slight on him. Whereas with Carl Robinson, I look at him and they've obviously been putting out the documentary, so you can actually see the team talks. And it's very high energy all the time. And sometimes I don't know whether Carl Robinson, a little bit like an overlap between the team talks and the tactics that you're talking about, which is the ability to go from one mode to another. I think we can talk about that in a tactical context, but we can also talk about it in a team talk leadership context, because when everything's so intense and high pitch and sort of really motivate and trying to come up with a sort of Oscar-winning Churchillian speech, you're trying to do that all the time. Sometimes it loses a bit of its stick. So again, you're kind of thinking from a team talk point of view, it's so intense, and sometimes actually you need to go to different levels to create that variation, perhaps.
Well, I've actually written about kind of almost a subcategory of what you've just said recently, and it was the fact that his distinct lack of fury as we've gone into this run has been noticeable, because when the team go in losing at half time and you see the the documentary the day or two following the game. He's just in disappointed parent mode. He's not in ranting, raving mode at all, which is. I'm not saying I'm not telling him how to do his job, and neither are you. But it feels that this idea of trying to keep everyone on side, never criticising the players, never admitting that we've never dominated a game, that's embarrassing. That is an absolute disgrace, because to say that, and I know all the goals against us in the Grimsby game, I believe, came in a 9-minute run, but we didn't boss the rest of it. And we dominated in their box, in our box, and this, or whatever bunkum that he says. That's what's lost in the fan base. If he cares, that's when that disconnect happened of him either lying to himself or lying to his players, or basically saying, I'll protect you in front of the cameras, whatever it is. When he started doing that, which was well before this season started, most fans I know, and that's hundreds of in the fan base of only 2,000, haven't got any time for him. So if he goes, there's like, it's just we're just waiting for that now, and I'm one of the more patient ones. But that game turned me, and I can't believe the owners will be satisfied with what's been achieved with the investment that's been given.
So I hear what you're saying. I suppose what I would argue is you judge somebody on what they've delivered over the season overall, and not just the last month or so. And I would argue that what Carl Robinson has delivered has been probably the best Football League team they've had, and of course he's been backed to provide that. But I have overall seen some really big improvements from Salford City this season for at least 3/4 of the campaign, and they've maybe not controlled games through possession, but they have controlled them with energy against the ball and a willingness to play forward with urgency and positivity. So I don't think we should rewrite that.
No, listen, I mean, I respect your opinion, and I would hope that you respect mine as well. I mean, I'm there for every game. I see it.
Yeah, of course.
But I do understand from what you see and the names on the back. We've got a team, we've got a squad. You know, when Haji Minogue drops back in, Kadeem Harris, all these, when all that fits into place, great. But my problem is that, and I started last night, Ryan Graydon, as much as it might seem strange for a player who's not scored many goals for us, his energy is actually carrying the whole team at the minute. He's doing everything. He's everywhere. You know, he's much better in the air than I thought he was. Fights for everything. Never stops running. But my problem is how he's being used. That it's a little bit like we're using him in overusing him, I should say, in the way we used to overuse Matt Smith. We over rely on him.
That's everything is. Though. Can I just stop you there, Danny?
Of course you can.
That's a really interesting point that you've raised. I think you might. I'm sure you're going to tell me that Ryan Graydon is much better than Dan Udo, and maybe individually I'll concede to that judgment. But I think that because Udo isn't a target man, it means that. Or that he can only really do it with his chest or to his feet, not really so much in the air. That means that you've played with a bit more positivity and you've varied your game better when Dan Udo's on the pitch than with Ryan Graydon on the pitch.
It's debatable because the plan, like I said, there's no plan A version 2 even with the when we have those two up front, which are our costly strikers, that it particularly changes. As long as Graydon's on the pitch, it's ball goes forward early into the channels, chase it. And there's no surprise element to that because I expect us to do that. I don't expect us to try and build an attack. I expect us to just launch it over the top, push up and squeeze and maybe try and win the ball back and Graydon will do something. It's just, I'm a content creator, Gab.
And do you remember... Can I just ask there, Danny? Yeah. Do you remember when Dan Udo was linking up brilliantly with Callum Cisse and Kelly and May? Because there were times this season where that trio looked so dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, the highlight for me was I think he scored 2 in one of his first games against Shrewsbury. He looked like he had a bit of a yard of pace, which I keep being told now that an injury has maybe robbed him of. That, you know, whatever the truth of that is. Callum Cisse had his month or 2 in the sun as well. Kelly and Mai's levels have not varied massively, but and honestly, to a man of people I speak to are saying that Kelly is now playing for the Scouts. He's playing for a move. He's playing to catch the eye of what he can do individually, and he's stopped playing for the team. And from what I've heard of him as a person, I'm surprised at that. But all I see is him in isolation, trying to do things on his own. So even when he's been on the pitch, he's become less effective because he's become almost a bit Adelakan-like. And Adelakan is not in my good book. So
Sure.
It's fallen apart. It really is fallen apart. And we may win our next game or 2. And another thing I'll just tell you, what is the greatest joy in football? It's surely your own team scoring a goal. Most people I speak to with these rubbish little consolation goals we're getting in games at the minute, the heart doesn't even rejoice with it. It's like, oh, the belief is just gone, and that's from our fan base. I don't know what it's like in the dressing room. I imagine it's horrible, and whether a new manager is the right thing to do at this time after giving him a new contract, I really don't know. But the owners will call it if they think that the players have just stopped playing for him.
Well, I think that's on the players as well, though.
Yeah,
I think that players probably have too much power, and they're given the authority to down tools, and then it's the manager that gets in the neck. And I don't think that's entirely fair, because they're still paid to play for the fans, play for their own pride. So I think that has to reflect badly on the players as well.
Oh, completely. Yeah. I mean, I probably should kind of just try and split that between. I think there was a player, it might have even been, was it Hazard at Chelsea years ago? Jason McAteer did it at Bolton, trying to get a move to Liverpool decades ago, that either the people are almost refusing to play, or when they play and they're working to rule and doing the very, very bare minimum. It's quite rare. What I'm talking about is the fact that they just don't think he's got the answers anymore. So when they don't look at the daddy father figure of the manager and think he's going to get us out of this, that's what I'm talking about the players not playing. It's less effort and it's more inspiration, because he's definitely lost any kind of good feeling from the fan base for many different reasons. And as hardworking and as honest I'm sure these players are, I don't think he's getting that final 1 or 2% that he was getting when he came in and turned the world. He saved us when he came in. He absolutely turned a situation that I thought was weeks too late to get rid of Neil Wood. And I thought them players would never get off the resuscitation table. And he did it instantly because of his... But the thing is, like you're saying before about varying his approach, if he, as I'm told, is on it every single day and wired, they've had that. They've seen that all the time. And if that's all he's ever like, then... Sure. I don't know what he's got left in his deck of cards.
Or almost get Alex Bruce to do a team talk or something like that.
Defensive coach of the year. Yeah. Steve Agnew. I mean, why is he suddenly come in? You know, I mean, what very, very experienced, I'm sure, but is Cal even letting him get a sniff? I don't know. Something has to change. I'd love to see something different. There's nothing different on the personnel. There's so many injuries. Maybe tactical I'd like, but if Cal goes, there's no weeping in Salford. But I promise you that, Gab, it's not just me.
Yeah, fair enough. Appreciate your insight, Danny, and look forward to catching up later in the season.
Anytime. Cheers, Gab.
Cheers. So my next guest is Sam, Barnet fan Sam from the B Brief. Thanks for joining us, Sam. Really appreciate your insights this evening. How are you feeling about Barnet's outside playoff prospects?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it's so outside anymore. It did feel like that. It did feel like that a few weeks ago when I last came on and spoke to you. It then definitely felt all over after we lost to Colchester 4-1. But all of a sudden, it feels with a couple of results again have gone our way.
Only 3 points.
It feels like it is actually a genuine chance. Like we've always. Thing is with us this season is we've always been outside. I don't think we've actually ever been in the playoffs the entire.
I don't think so, no. Because you lost your first 3, so that kind of precludes you from.
Yeah, we were always playing catch up. And then when we did get close, I mean, this season we were saying on the pod in the week that we've had 5 occasions this season we've won 2 in a row, and we haven't been able to get we haven't got 3 wins in a row all season. So we haven't actually been able to sustain enough form to ever be in the playoffs. We've always sustained enough form to be just in and about it without really feeling like you're going to be able to challenge, but always feel like you've got a chance of being there. And now with the games we've got left and what we've got coming up, it's still an outside chance, but it does feel like we do have a chance of getting in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one player that's going to help you get in there is Nam Diophobor, who Dean Brennan described to have had the best midfielder performance he's seen since coming into the club, since being appointed in Saturday's 1-0 victory over Chesterfield. Are we seeing the best of Namdi at the Hive?
I mean, he's been brilliant. I mean, I've always had this thing with Namdi where since he's come in, like the team, flashes of absolute brilliance, and then sometimes we just may not be up to his level. But if you can get Namdi playing at the level that he's playing at the minute, I mean, when he signed, we said at the time he was signed when he was signed for Rangers by Steven Gerrard. So if someone like Steven Gerrard is picking Namdi out and thinking he had potential, there's obviously a player in there. He obviously had his health conditions and all that, which is why it didn't obviously work out, and it's been difficult for him to get back to the level. But we've all known what he can do, and yeah, Saturday's performance, not only was his goal unbelievable, his defensive work rate was so good, and I actually think it's a massive part of his game that gets missed. Like you underlook some of his defensive performances. He's been really good, and it's just about, can he do it consistently? Because again, he has been brilliant, and our recruitment this season has been a bit dodgy, but he's been one of the players that have come in and has been playing week in, week out. It's just that, can he do it consistently? And if he can do it consistently, we have got a hell of a player on our books. So, yeah, I'm not sure if it was the best midfielder performance I've seen from a midfielder under Dean Brennan. I think it may have been a slight exaggeration.
Yeah,
but he was superb on the weekend.
Yeah, he's a very passionate man, isn't he, Dean Brennan? So a bit overzealous sometimes with his comments, but clearly meant that with Nam Diophobor. One thing that's stood out to me with Barnet, Sam, is you've relied although you're very good creative side, one of the best footballing sides I've seen in the division. You've tended to rely very heavily on your wing backs or wingers, or in some cases fullback Idris Kanu, as he's playing at the moment, in Idris Kanu and Ryan Glover, and I think that's been a real testament to those two, because I do always look at those two and feel like they can create. But sometimes I feel like you've found yourselves a bit lacking centrally in terms of someone who can create something between the lines. Do you think you've started to see solutions to that with Winterburn coming into the side and Steady returning as well?
I'm not sure Winterburn so much, because Winterburn does a lot. I mean, all of his work, his work rate is just unbelievable. And Winterburn, coming from the Bournemouth Academy, you've obviously got to be a very good technical player to get to that level. But his main strength is just his ability to do the simple things right. And again, he's been in and out of the side. He had a really good spell, got injured, came out of the side, came back in, was pretty poor. But now, again, he's really picking up form. I think the key for me is actually moving. I mean, we had this big debate, me and James on the pod, and we played Colchester. And obviously that was a really, really poor performance. And there were substitutions in that game, and I didn't like the tactics, and I didn't think we set up right. And I felt all season we've been, as you say, very reliant on Idris and Gloves to really perform. But they are very similar players in terms of, you've got wingers and they're just going to run. They've obviously got technical ability, but the main thing is they are good at beating their man. They're just going to run. What I felt is we needed a different profile in that front three, which we could pick a lock or retain the ball a bit more, because our games are very open. So we needed someone that had a bit more quality in retaining the ball. And we saw that against Accrington when Jack Howland came into the side. He was really good. And Jai Simi, who played on the weekend as well, another player who's very good technically, not going to be a beat your man sort of run past your player, more of a beat your man in sort of like a skill sort of way, instead of just going to run with their pace and have all that physical ability. And I think we found a really good balance now in that side. Idris has moved to right back, which I've been campaigning for quite a bit of time because I think
Really? See, I think Idris Carney struggles as a fullback. I saw him against Salford there at left back in December, and I thought he really struggled because I think he's a very instinctive player who he's an optimist, and I think if you're playing as a defender, you need to be quite a bit more guarded, and I don't think Idris has that. So I think he's much better when he's got that freedom to his game.
I completely disagree.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
We had this big debate between me and James with the pod, and with loads of Barnet fans as well.
Right.
The way I see Idris Kanu is he has scored 1 goal in 48 games for us now. So he scored against Walsall away, but he only got 1 goal. Not good enough as a return for a winger. Just not good enough.
Well, can I just, I want to hear the rest of that, but can I just make one interjection there? His role is very width related, and this is the same with Ryan Glover as well. So they stay very high and wide, but they're not in general play encouraged to get inside an awful lot, because for much of the season, their role has been to dink those crosses into the box. So Barnet will work the ball wide, and then they'll dink the ball in from the byline. That's very different from having the freedom to go inside and look for flick-ons from Unlerv or Hawkins or whoever you've got up top, Shamanga. It's very different kind of role. So I'd just like to get that caveat in there.
I would have agreed with you last season when we were playing wing backs. This season, we have played a lot of 4 at the back. Obviously, we're very flexible and we switch between the 3 and the 4 loads of times. Yeah. But we have played a 4 quite a lot this season. And what we do is we actually have Idris and Gloves playing very narrow. They've played very narrow this season. Right, last season, Glover got 10 goals last season. That was from wing back. So Idris only, I think, got 3 goals last season. He's only got the 1 goal this season. Like I said, 1 goal in 48 plus. And if you ask any Barnet fan what Idris Kanu's main strength is, they'll say one of 2 things. They'll say his ball carrying, or they'll say his defensive ability. His defensive ability is top, like proper good. And I think he gets a lot more. When you're playing from fullback, you can make those runs and he doesn't have to think too much. His output at the front line isn't that important. But defensively, he's been so good for us. And his ball carrying and the angle you can get when you're playing at fullback, the game's in front of him. When you're playing on the wing, you've still got to receive the ball from an angle, and you're still having sometimes, a lot of the time, he just will get the ball and he's got someone up his backside and he's going to have to try and beat someone. When he's playing at fullback, the game is in front of him and he can just run. And he's so good at that.
Okay, so that's really interesting. I think, though, with Idris Kanu, my perception of him is that he tries lots of risky passes, and he's he's an optimist. He takes risks. He assumes that what he does with the ball is going to go well, and I think I would rather have someone with that kind of instinct higher up the pitch, because if you play them as a defender in a back 4, it means that the consequence of taking a risk and it not working out is greater than maybe if you have him higher up the pitch.
So I just completely disagree. Kanu, like I said, for me, his numbers aren't brilliant, but his defensive work is fantastic, and his ball carrying is fantastic. But
do you accept my point about the in possession side, that he is a risk taker?
I don't think he's not a risk taker in terms of his passing. I don't think he's good at. It's not his game. His game is all dribbling and ball carrying. It's not passing. He's not someone that links the play up. He's not someone that is going to play clever passes. He's a risk taker in terms of his ball dribbling. He's the most fouled player in the league, but that's because he dribbles the ball so much. You're gonna tackle him.
Sure.
But in terms of he's not like a clever player that's going to play those passes in the lines. He's never been his game. That's not what he's about. And he is brilliant defensively, brilliant at picking the ball up and driving forward with it. And in the last couple of games, he's playing fullback. He played fullback against Accrington and was really, after the Colchester game, played fullback at Accrington, got an assist from fullback, was brilliant there, stopped Heath, who has been really impressive this season at Accrington, completely nullified him whatsoever, and didn't do anything. And then on the weekend against Chesterfield, again played fullback and was really good. And he's able to have that freedom by playing fullback. Also, with the way we play with our centre-backs, I think our centre-backs are massively underrated in the league. I think we have 3 or 4 of the best centre-backs. I genuinely mean 3 or 4 of the best centre-backs in the league.
Collins, Tavares, and Senior to have those three, and then Critchlow as well.
Yeah,
Like,
Critchlow, I mean, in the last couple of weeks has been really good. I mean, we're yet to see Miles Kenlock play this season, but he was our player of the season. Obviously, had a really bad ACL, so we're yet to see him. But I just think with the way we play, Kanu at fullback suits us so much better, and we have found a balance in the last couple of games where you've got Glover on the wing. We've either had Jai Semi or Howland playing there, who are a lot more players that like to link up play a lot more and have the ball at feet, and they're able to play those passes. They're much better in those spaces. And then you've got Shamanga up top, who has been a revelation since coming. And I think he's got 6 goals now in 10 games, I think it is now. And probably should have scored on the weekend as well. He has been fantastic. But I think we have found a really good balance with Namdi and Winterburn in there. And then with Steady coming back in has been brilliant as well.
Yeah, I'm glad Steady's had a way back into the team, because I think that he was always getting into the right positions. I don't think that was the question. And hopefully he can build up his confidence and offer that ruthless edge. Sam, do you think Barnet are going to finish in the top 7?
If we win on Saturday, I'll say yeah. Saturday's a massive game for us now. Saturday, I think, because we're 12:30 kickoff as well. If we win, we will go into the playoffs the first time, and it puts pressure on the teams that are playing at the 3 o'clock. So I think if we can get into the top 6, then it'll be. I just think it'll give a massive boost. It'll be the first time we've won 3 in a bounce this season. So I'm always an optimist, and I'm going to say we'll get into the top 7.
Well, fingers crossed. Thanks for that, Sam, and look forward to catching up later in the season.
Will do. Thanks for having me on.
So my final guest this evening is Simon Ward from Walsall Fan TV. Thanks for joining us, Simon. Really appreciate your time. Walsall's away form is in the top 3 in League 2, but unfortunately at the Bescot it's been a different story.
Yeah, it's quite depressing, really, Gab. Walsall, I think we sort of fell apart again, really. I think we've had a couple of good away results to sort of hold us up there a little bit, but it's all falling apart again. And people say you judge Walsall on what they do in January, and last season January was a total car crash, and it's not been much different this time. You can tell how good a January we had. Away to Shrewsbury on Saturday, none of the new signings were in the first 11 and didn't get on the pitch. And then last night, none in the first 11, and we had Paxson and Lupala came on late on. But I thought January was to strengthen the team, not weaken it.
Yeah, you know what, Simon? I've always been a big advocate of Trevella. I would maintain that they've been a net positive for Walsall, but I would have to concede some ground here, because I don't think the club got the last January window right in 2025. And I was willing to make some allowances for that, and hoping that there'd be some lessons learnt. And while this summer there had been some additions, like the lad you got from Fulham, I thought looked like
Lupala boy, but he had, unlike Ethan Wheatley last season, Lupala boy had some adult game time, but that was for Gateshead.
On paper, based on some of the reports, I was actually quite excited about the signing at the time, and same with Alex Patterson from Bradford. But at the same time, I'm still left feeling like, was there enough that's been done? And I can actually see why Walsall fans do sometimes get frustrated with Trevella, because they own other clubs. They own one in Ireland and they own one in Scandinavia. And I can kind of see that while they're operating with a modest-ish budget in League 2, and they're not able to necessarily give Walsall the investment that the club would ideally need, and then they're putting money into other clubs. I can understand. I have to say, I can understand why that might grate a little bit at times.
Yeah, like last January last season, we didn't have any money to strengthen in January.
Yeah.
And then they buy Silkeborg for 8 million or whatever.
Yeah, I can see how that feels like a bit of
the thing when we were promised quite a lot when Trivella came on board. Lee Pomlet said, "Watch out, Aston Villa."
Oh God.
I think it's more watch out.
Do you think they're looking
Villa.
over their shoulders? Oh no, Walsall.
Watch out, Pelsall Villa at the minute. But saying that, Trivella have done some good stuff.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely.
And I like Matt Sadler, but for the third consecutive season, the team's falling away under his leadership. Now, you can say he hasn't been supported in the transfer window, but the players he's decided to bring in, he's not playing them. So who's to blame there, Gab? Who's to blame there?
Was Andy McGregor the header, or was that for a different window?
Andy McGregor, he came on board November 10th,
right,
and said he'd been in the building and looking at things way before then. But the only players we're bringing in were pretty much players that we'd had before. Alfie Chang returning. So and the rumour is that Alfie Chang didn't particularly want to come back to Walsall, but he didn't have any other options. And from the way he's been playing, well, he's not featured in the 18 for the last two, 3 games. So bearing in mind he's supposed to be a quality addition. If he is a quality addition, why is he not in the 18?
I also think not bringing in a proper target man was a big mistake. Big mistake.
We were short of a target man in the summer. We needed another recognised striker in the summer. And yeah, Johnny Stuttle got injured when we were bringing Carno in. So that would have been 2 there. But then you're relying on Aaron Presley, who's largely not been fully fit. And Jamil Matt, who's as great a servant as he's been to Walsall, is in his twilight. Somebody commented, it was the commentary team from Fleetwood made a comment about Walsall and on about Jamil Matt, saying he turns slower than the Titanic. And there was an excellent chance he had. Lapalo Boy actually put him in. Lapalo Boy had used his pace, got into a perfect position, thought he was going to shoot from the corner, from the edge of like the angle. He squared it to Jamil Matt, and Jamil Matt just miskicked the ball.
And I don't blame Jamil Matt, because I think he's had a really good career at this level. I know that Matt Sadler speaks very highly of him as a person in terms of the leadership qualities that he brings, but he's just not up to League Two standards anymore. I'm sorry, Jamil, because I've got a huge amount of respect for him, but I don't understand.
I think if we were just using him, using him late on in games, I think he'd still have a good role to play.
Yeah. For the last 10 minutes, I would sort of accept that. But I think if Aaron Presley was at the levels that I was hoping that he would be at, I don't think we'd have, and he was able to start every game, and then Jammer comes on for the last 10 minutes. I could kind of live with that. But because that isn't the case with Aaron Presley, I think you've got much more of an issue. So I can understand why a more critical lens has been applied. So go on, Simon.
People are talking about different things, but a plan B, really, Walsall needed another striker to give yourself another option. Like at the end of the game, on the last kick-ins of the game last night, he took Daniel Carno off and bring Lupalo Boy on.
Oh, when he won the down. Oh, God.
And then took Presley off and brought Carno on, or Jammer on rather.
Yeah.
But when you're absolutely dominating a game,
you don't need
and you just can't put the ball in your net, you'd put a third striker on, wouldn't you?
Yeah. You'd risk it with Jidikake and Vincent Harper as fullbacks, but playing the same role, and then get another body on attacking pitch. I can, and I've this is where I'm sort of approaching a really challenging stage in how I relate to Walsall, because I'm trying to maintain more of a sort of a perspective side, which is 3 successive top 10 finishes, if you like, top 10 teams. Lots of progress that's been made on and off the pitch. I think there's some really good people at the football club. I think Matt's brought some really good ideas in lots of different ways, but there's also aspects of it that I do find challenging at times, and it's
well, you can't sort of defend 3 collapses in consecutive seasons. And Walsall reported a loss of 1.9 million in the recent accounts. So there's some other questions being raised there as well. It's so frustrating. But talking about last night's game, we weren't. But I mean, talking about last night's game, 58% possession, absolutely dominated. 18 shots to their 6. Yeah. 4 on target to their 1. But this is.
Can I ask you a question on that, Simon? Do you think it was you were just really unlucky because you created lots of chances? Do you think there were pot shots from distance, or do you feel like, on another day, we could easily have won that?
Potentially, yeah. I think, but the key thing I want to mention, and it's a subject that always gets raised, is about the refs. On my match day vlog, I've sort of gone into detail a little bit. I'm going to put it out on my TikTok when I've sort of done the clips.
Well, I see it getting with the modern world, Simon.
I know, yeah. Well, I've got to do that, haven't I?
Getting down with the kids.
At least 4 Stonewall penalties were not given.
Oh.
At least 4 Stonewall penalties. The one that got perfectly in the perfect eye line of the ref, the guy's jumped up with his arm in the air. It's gone off his head and onto his arm. So that's a definite penalty. Evan Weir, the guy, clenched his fist and elbowed him into the side of the head on the penalty spot at a corner. And then there was another one, tried to cross the ball and the guy's put his arms out to stop the cross coming over. And then Charlie Lakin was running onto a cross and the guy's bundled into the back of him to send him to the floor. And there was more. That was just an example of 4. Another one, the priest, Priestley Farquharson, peeled away from his guy. The guy's not looking at the ball at all. He's got both arms wrapped round the priest and just trying to drag him to the floor. Like that's in the perfect eye line of the ref. But like on that instance that I sort of looked at, I sort of exaggerated, if you like.
Yeah.
I
don't think there's enough support for referees as well, because the problem that we have, Simon, referees are grossly underpaid and they're undertrained. So they don't get the correct amount of training in order to become a professional referee. And secondly, because their pay is so low, especially at this level, they're all part-time. And the attitude that they have is, I'll just turn up at a ground and be a referee so I can earn my few quid and go home. There is, and I think for a game that affects so much financially, reputationally, for fans, I don't think that's right, and I think it's something that the FA have got wrong. But I wouldn't necessarily blame the referees themselves, even though that's kind of inevitable, isn't it? But I think that it speaks to a much wider issue around training and financial support.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But you've got such a, as is always the case, I suppose, you've got such a wide variety. Like in another game, the ref would have given probably 7-8 penalties, and then in this game, he doesn't give any at all. And the linesman, the linesman are now better. The linesmen are now better.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so frustrating. But I mean, that aside, Walsall should still have won. Yeah, there's just that one corner I talked about with Priestley Farquharson. I was playing it back to look and see whether it was justified or not. And there's 2 other instances that I thought were both also penalties. So there was 3 penalty fouls against Walsall players for a corner, and none of them were given.
Oh God.
But yeah.
There were lots of. It felt like earlier in the season there were lots of 7 out of 10 performances, some bright spots. We've spoken about Evan Weir stepping up really nicely into Taylor Allen shoes. We've spoken about Jida Kike and the positive, I suppose, of getting him back on loan from Stockport County. The big worry for me is that Lakin and Jellis feel unrecognisable from their form in the first half of last season.
Actually, Jellis was very good last night.
Oh, okay, right, that's good.
He was my man of the match. He has been off it, Jellis. He has been off it, but he was good last night. He did have one shot. He did have one shot from distance, or a couple of shots from distance, which he skied, which he could have done better with. But his general play was very smart and chasing the ball down. And because Walsall on a bit of a rough run, Matt Sadler's sort of gone back to basics. So at the 2 8s with Charlie Lakin and Jamie Jellis, putting the energy back into the midfield, and that worked.
Oh, good.
So, and Charlie Lakin, particularly first half, was good.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that.
But your point is quite correct. They had both fell off it massively. Evan Weir was very good at the start of the season. He dropped off it, but he's been good. He's back in now, and his last 2 games he's done well. There was one moment that made me smile actually from last night. A very good run from Evan Weir from sort of like midway, well, just in front of his own box pretty much. He went on a bit of a run, had a bit of a 1-2s, and was right into the final third and put Carno away, and the Carno had just strayed offside. But it was a tremendous run.
He's got that in his locker, hasn't he, Evan Weir? I do think he's probably the most progressive of the 3 defenders. So I can see how he can bring something to the equation. I wanted to ask you about Kike, because I was really impressed with him in the first half of the season before Stockport.
Yeah, again yesterday and Saturday, he was good. Yeah, I'm pleased to have him back in. Connor Barrett had been a big star performer for us, but his sort of levels have dropped off massively. Right. And I think Jida Kike has stepped in and shown that he's doing a better job there. Yeah. I think Connor Barrett in the one game, I think could have been against Barnet, I think. There were 3 50-50s. We know when the ball's loose on the wing,
50-50s,
and it's one of those where if he'd have gone for it, he'd have probably got there first, but he's just backed out of it and just not gone into the challenge. And that's like 3 times in the same game. So I think that's why he's out. But maybe he's on his way somewhere. You don't know, do you?
Yeah, probably. He was linked. So go on.
All in Walsall, I think your next question is going to be, can we make top 7, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you're speaking there about Lakin and Jellis coming back to their best, and Akike playing well, and Evan Weir showing signs, and you do look at some positives, and there is something there, but it's that it's that target man position for me that I look at, and is Aaron Presley gonna be the one that gets Walsall there? I don't know.
No, I think, to be honest, if he was getting better service from the wing backs and getting decent early crosses in, then perhaps. But I think he's just not strong enough for a big guy. He's not very strong. Where Jammer has the strength, but not the speed,
not the running power. Yeah.
But saying that, Presley's not particularly fast either.
No, but I suppose he has a reputation for having a great work ethic, and I do think that aspect has probably been better. But again, the lack of strength is a problem, and he probably does need better service, maybe, in order to pick him out, rather than sort of lump the ball up and hope that he's going to win a physical duel with somebody.
I think because of that issue with Jammer and with Presley, there's then more emphasis on Carno, and recently Carno looks like he's trying to do everything, and by doing that, Carno is too much.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Simon. I think Carno is the magic feet around the edge of the box guy. He's not the win the initial duel guy.
No.
And so if he's having to do more, it's probably going to take some of that sharpness away when he does get into those dangerous areas.
Because he had 3 good chances last night, and the best one of them, he just leant back and skied it. So that was disappointing. So he's off it a bit as well, and that's what sort of contributing to the capitulation, I guess. Your question about top 7. I don't think we've got a prayer of top 7.
Really?
I don't think we've got a prayer. We've got a really tough month coming up. Notts County, then we've got Salford and Crewe. I know Salford can't sort of buy a win at the minute. They're on a worse run. But maybe that'll be the game where we can sort of try and get something.
Yeah.
Not.
I think Walsall need a
Notts
reaction
County on Saturday,
in those next 3 and to try and take something out of those games for sure.
If we beat Notts County on Saturday, I shall be gobsmacked, and happily so.
Yeah. Well, you never know. It's League 2, so you never know.
Are. Well, I've been doing a predictions. I've been doing a predictions thing. I don't know whether you've seen it. I'll have to get you on for one of them. And it is so difficult to predict. I think I'm getting sort of like 3 out of 12 most weeks. And
maybe Meatloaf should rearrange the lyrics of 3 out of 12 ain't bad.
Well, I got 2 out of 5 last night.
2 out of 5.
2 out of 5 ain't bad. Oh dear. So yeah, stressful time at the minute.
Stressful time to be a Walsall fan. Right, well, Simon, thanks so much for your insights. Look forward to coming on Walsall Fan TV sometime, hopefully between now and the end of the season. Thanks for coming on, join the pain. We'll see you again for another League 2 podcast next week.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Top man.